So it's hi Linda, 7:02. I'd like to call a meeting to order. I have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. The first thing on the agenda was the approval of the May and the June meeting minutes. However, Kevin has not sent those, so we can approve the minutes at this point. I know. And so I've asked again, Shannon's going to reach out tomorrow as well, because we need those for us to approve. And additionally, Shannon's going to send a note. I've been posting all our minutes on the website, the ones that I, was responsible for. And so we need to get those back up there too, so we don't have a big gap. So we'll make that an action item for next time.
I want to make sure.
Linda, can you hear us?
I can, thank you. And I apologize for not being there this evening with you. I've had a serious injury and I'm basically homebound at this point. So I'm glad I can join you on Zoom. And as you probably know, I'm your new select board liaison and was certainly involved when the charge came to the select board to be approved. So I'm well acquainted with your charge, and I've also spoken with Mary Hartman. So I'm
Great.
happy to join you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I'm sorry to hear about your injury.
Yeah.
The good news here, it's cool. My house has no air conditioning, so I hope you're not in that same space. I sent an email and I wanted to talk about, we need to begin working on recommendations to the select board. We've had a number of meetings with, our liaisons that we said we'd contact. And so we know we have more work to do and more liaisons to work with, but I think we should start formulating some ideas and we can always, fine tune them later.
I don't think we should. I think we really haven't done what we were supposed to do. When you look at our charge, we're really supposed to go out to the community and get their input into management of the pond. And Mary initially talked about surveys and things, but we really haven't reached out at all. And we really even haven't reached out very much to the town as a whole. And, we've talked to Delia and actually didn't even really give her too much of an opportunity to give her recommendations for the future. We talked to Alan and Steve, which I think we were a little better prepared for, and so we got a little bit better response. But we haven't really gotten, any other town committees involved. We haven't gotten their feedback, and we certainly haven't gotten out to the community as a whole. And I think without that, we're nowhere. We're nowhere at any point to make recommendations on how to manage the pond.
I'd like to clarify. I said to begin formulating some things, because we do have a lot of data. We've had John Higgins, we've had Melanie, we've had Delia, we've had Alan, we've had Steve. John himself has made some, given us some information as well. So I'm not saying,
don't you think it would be heavily biased if we didn't go out to the community?
No, not at all. I'm not saying to,
I do.
I'm not saying not to do these other things. I'm saying we continue to, in my opinion, kind of spin our wheels. So what's your suggestion that we can do in the meantime?
I think we should really determine what we're going to do to reach out to the greater community. And I think that's first and foremost what we need to do before we start talking about any recommendations.
I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that. I think we can do both, but let's just have the task force comments.
We talked about that actually in the parking lot last time. I think having some kind of formula like you're talking about, Beth, where you start and then we can start filling in things like,
Well, how do we know what people want the pond to be? So
well,
how
would you get, how would you get that information?
I said by going out to the community and getting their input on future use of and restrictions on White Pond. With the rec department, is working on a recreation plan. They're going to have a public meeting right out on the 20th about their ideas for a recreation plan. I don't know what the recreation department and the recreation commission is even thinking for the pond in the future. We don't know how successful the White Pond Beach has been. We don't, and going back, I said, maybe even doubling back and going back to Delia, we don't have any input from the rangers on whether having the White Pond Beach be a town beach has made any changes, impacts on trespassers' use of the pond.
We can, we can talk to the rec department. We can talk to the rangers. I mean,
Yeah,
that-
we
that
should.
yeah,
and we
so we can
should.
put that in
And
the format. And
so how do we, I think what we should be talking about is how do we schedule that and get it done so that we can start formulating recommendations that are representative of the town as a whole and not just the five of us and a few people from town
I
staff.
wasn't here for one meeting where you guys divided up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And I missed that. I was gonna say, like,
Yeah.
I think I was volunteer for the rec thing, actually. I mean, I'm happy to do that. I mean, if we go, that's something we could do. I don't know, it used to be Laura Lunig, but I don't know who's,
No, and we did, and so that's.
oh, you did.
No, we did divide up.
Yeah, right.
And I think maybe Alyssa's even yourself that got feedback from one of the committees that they didn't even want to attend.
Bruce
And-
Freeman gave us to Delia, handed us on.
So,
Excuse me.
so we have some people who are, washing their hands, so we can't go out to everybody. Some people don't want us
Right.
there. And the Recreation Commission, I mean, if that's yours, we could do it. I was the
Yeah.
Board of Health and the Friends of White Pond, and I've done
Okay.
that. And I continue to do it, and I think each one.
No,
were
we've talked-
continuing.
Well, but you've talked to the health department, not necessarily the Board of Health, to see what they want. So I think what the original charge was to try to get a feel for not just what town staff does, because their job is to get our lead. And it was the Board of Health, the health department, our Board of Health members to get their input on what they see as the future of White Pond.
Yeah, also
So-
natural resources too. So
Right.
Delia sort of is, the town part of that, but there's also a whole
Oh, sure.
group that meets regularly and
That was yours too, right?
no, it's not.
No,
It was
it's-
natural resources.
I don't know, but
Maybe it was Evan.
I was Walden Pond, the state group on.
Mhm.
And I talked to the head of that.
Yeah.
While swimming and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I think it would be good to reach out to more people. And we had talked about like a survey, and then that was sort of discouraged, I think, by Mary. She sort of said, well, they've already had one, and I said, can we get the results? She said they were biased. I think essentially, I think she was implying that, they asked that it wasn't a very good survey. But then, so do we need another survey? How are we going to find out what? the
Well, I
average
think that's
person
what
in
we should
town
be
thinks?
talking about, because the first bullet point in our charge is to solicit input from residents both within and beyond the White Pond watershed.
Yeah, I think, I don't think we've done that.
Yeah, Mary emphasized that. I remember when I met with her, that she brought up the survey, but I'll be honest, I've been here 27 years. I've never seen a survey. I'm not
Yeah.
saying we shouldn't do it, but I don't know how, I wouldn't even know how to start on a survey.
The survey's tough, and maybe that's not
Oh,
it.
there you go.
Well, I got this in the mail.
Yep.
It says Concord Postal Patron from the Town of Concord, Division of Natural Resources. And there was a QR code to take a survey about Warner's Pond.
That's interesting. Did you just get it?
I got, no, this
No,
was.
A while
was a
ago.
while
That was
ago.
Delia's thing, right?
Yeah, we didn't get that at my house.
I think everyone
I think everyone got
knows.
I didn't get it.
They did
So I
to
thought it was
recycle.
interesting.
Sorry.
So
I didn't.
I did take the survey and it had a series, it says there's three choices. And we shouldn't get into the choices now, but basically the idea is informing the residents of the three choices for managing the pond and
This is Warner.
Warner Pond,
Yep, yep.
right? But if we were to do something similar.
Yeah,
And then, gave pros and cons of the different options, and you could say on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were in favor or not in favor of this plan. And I learned something from taking the survey,
So
that there were
The town
choices.
clearly has the ability to put that thing out. And we, I think, are given some town resources to use.
I don't
If we
know.
decide we need.
Let's ask Linda. Linda, I mean, because surveys like this cost money, right? So do we have any kind of ability? I think you're on mute, Linda.
There's certainly enough interest in the work that you're doing, obviously, by setting up the advisory task force, and disbanding the other group at this point. And I would, a couple things. One, the director of communications. If you want to do something similar to what you were just reviewing from Warner's Pond survey, you might want to talk to her about how you would go about that. I would guess you would get support for that because the select board and town staff are interested in getting townwide feedback on the use of White Pond. So that's one comment I would make. Donna McIntosh is the Director of Communications. The second thing two things I would suggest. One is that I'm sure all of you have participated in the annual town survey that comes out asking various questions about our degree of satisfaction with town services. You know, as a fallback position, it's not as good as doing your own survey, but it could be that you add a couple questions to that survey that's going to go out anyway. And then the third thing I would suggest is that several groups are in September, I believe it's September 12th, the Ag Day, are going to have a table or a booth. And and if you are creative about the signage and maybe some giveaways at your table to get people to come up to your table, it's a great time to get feedback because a lot of people attend that Ag Day, as you know. So those are just a couple responses to what you're talking about right now that I, off the top of my head.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So even though we're not ag, we could still get a booth, you think?
Yes, and now's
Okay.
now's the time to contact them. And when I say booth, you know, it can be a table.
Yeah, we've seen them with little tents and stuff.
Exactly.
Who's in charge of Egg Day that we would reach out to? Do you know?
Probably the Ag Committee.
I need a name. I don't know the Egg Committee.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think Ellen Bemis is who you would probably contact. And she's on the Ag Committee.
Thank you.
And the recreation, agriculture.
Yes, okay.
I'm
The
sorry.
the recreation department is gonna have a table at Rideout on the 20th, because they're soliciting input for their recreation plan. And I think, you know, if we could sit next to them and hover, and maybe have a little table of our own right there, that might be another opportunity.
The 20th of July.
Yes, correct. Come the week from Thursday, I think it is. There, you know, Rideout has those concerts in the evening, and the rec committee, or whoever who said, "Oh, that's a good time to get people to."
We're okay. I didn't know right now have concerts. Sorry. Okay. My kids are someplace. Anyway. So on the Warner Pond though, that were specific. I was on the conference call with it, and they had very specific questions like, do you want to dredge? Do you want to take the dam down? Or do you want to partially dredge? So we don't necessarily have those very specific questions. Where I'm going with this, it might be better to dovetail off the other town survey or the other activities, I think, because what would we ask? What would, you know what I mean? That there were specific asks they were asking. Like
You could ask if the town beach seems, you know, where it's run, it seems sufficient for swimming. We could ask if the town likes the way the town properties are being managed. Or two key questions for me, whether we'll get into this further later, but if there's going to be sewering or in any part of White Pond, it'll cost a lot of money. And does the town want to underwrite that at all?
There's gonna be what?
Sewering?
Yeah.
For the properties around White Pond. Because it's been proposed before and it was just kind of vetoed because it's like too expensive. We don't want to do that. But I don't know, it's just.
Yeah, I think there's lots of questions like that. You know, does White Pond, the way it's being run now with the subscription, but daily things, is that working out? Do people want more access? I notice now, like at the state ramp, you know, I've seen like 10 inflatable sups lined up, you know,
Inflatable, what?
stand-up paddle boards.
Yeah.
that little section of
So how
town.
does that work? I mean, like 10 cars? I mean, or what?
Well, no, they come down, they put their
Yeah,
paddleboard in, and then maybe they can go up to the parking lot, because there's no one checking, they used to check at the parking lot, they don't
Yeah.
do that anymore, they just,
Right. So they just check if you approach the beach and stuff.
yeah, and there's spaces for 4 or 5 cars down
True,
there,
yeah,
so
they're
a
really
few
tight,
people,
yeah.
a few people can park down there, but not everybody.
We could ask people if they think that trout should be stocked in the pond or not.
It's a good question.
Sorry.
Yeah, sensitive, yeah. But
Yeah,
with
but
the,
you need a scientist, really, even the fishing game is having arguments about that, so.
You don't need a scientist to get an opinion of the town.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm fine with all questions, but I think what the recreation department, I'm wondering if they've done any of these surveys themselves, or if that's what they're doing, because they should be getting feedback, I would imagine, on the cost structure and the ability to go swimming. Obviously, there's no sign of bacteria closures this year, so people are much more happy than they were last year when, basically wanted money back and stuff. But do you know, Linda, this is again, you may or may not know from the select board, does the recreation or Anna do any of that stuff?
I'm not aware of the specific questions they're asking. It's clearly going to be recreation use of the pond oriented, and I would guess basically, and not include wider topics like how do we encourage surrounding properties to help protect, be part of the solution for help to protect the pond, etc. It won't include.
Yeah,
I'm just using that as an example.
no, and I agree. I was just wondering if the recreation department, I don't know if I don't see our charge really going over into the beach area, what they're doing per se, how they're organizing it. Certainly, I would think the recreation department is handling that. I mean, they're the ones who set up the fees. Is that
That's-
part
We're
of our
supposed to
charge?
identify overlaps of responsibilities and gaps in responsibility, and, so,
And
Yeah,
just the people that I have talked to around town are complaining about the way the beach is being run.
No, I
So,
haven't heard that at all. What kind of complaints?
the complaints during COVID, definitely.
they all used to swim there, and not, now it's kind of regulated. Why can't they just go in and swim? They sneak in before the beach lifeguards get there in one case. Another person is just upset because the beach is closed so much. And she actually had a paid membership, and she's like, what am I paying for? When do I get my
But
money back?
but this year, you mean?
This was last year.
Yeah, but I think, shouldn't we be focusing on the present and the future?
Well, I
So
mean,
we
last year
find
they
out?
had the same deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we haven't closed the beach yet.
Last year, there weren't a lot of closures. It was the year before, I think.
Yeah.
Last year, we had the drought, and I don't remember the beach being
We
closed.
had
at all.
we had a few like red or yellow, whatever you
Oh,
call it, but
Okay,
yeah, we had one day, I remember, but not a lot.
okay, then I was.
And I'm not discounting what the
Fair.
people are
And,
saying. I'm just saying,
Other people that I know like to sneak in from
oh, yeah.
the
Yeah, Stone Root.
from the bike path.
Right.
And, I mean, the town owns that conservation area. Is it the will of the town people to be able to swim from there if they want to?
Well, I think that's what we talked with Delia about.
We did,
And
and
the
she said-
rangers,
She
right?
said the
Rangers,
animals
right.
need to have a place, which doesn't make any sense to me at all.
well, so we asked so Delia, that's as a staff person, and her job is to protect the ecology, but that's not the question. Yeah, it's town, and some of those,
Julia
one of
said
those
also,
parcels is not an
it's the will of the
NFC
town,
parcel.
You can do it.
Yeah.
That's what she said when I asked her about that, because I did.
I can tell you personally what I hear because we live out on the pond and we walk the trail constantly with our dog. And we see people and hear people, and most people have been saying until this past weekend that they haven't seen a ranger yet. And, we're encouraged to talk to the rangers and meet them and say hello, and I'm still wanting to. But I can tell you last weekend, they clearly must have been around because the people weren't in the cove. And up until last week, people were swimming in the cove. And I know that's the ranger's job, but there's one ranger this year, as we found out, and they have to patrol 2 or maybe 3 properties. So, it's a tough job, but I agree that would be a great person to have here and ask some questions, because it would be interesting to hear the feedback that she has heard. when
Yeah,
she
well, we
tells
don't
people
necessarily have
get
to
up.
have people here, because I think that was one of the problems that the town staff has mentioned. It's sort of a drain on their resources, but we could reach out to them. We could
Yeah,
tape conversations
yeah,
with them. Something that would make it a little bit easier for them.
we could maybe even
So-
meet earlier one day and
Yeah.
invite them, or they can zoom in certainly.
Mhm.
So-
Or one of us, I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
maybe some of us, to your point, Alyssa, some of us volunteer to do a couple of these things we've just talked about and do some more reach out. I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, I think we should be doing both. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and
Um,
as I said, I don't think I have any idea what the town wants. And if I don't even know, we heard at one point Recreation Department was thinking of putting like a, bike, kayak storage locker down there. What do people think about that idea? There's a lot of things that we don't know.
So do we think for that, let's talk about that one specifically. Should we invite Anna or the board, the committee? Who do we
Well, it
invite?
sounds like all these questions around the recreation areas,
Yeah, who do
Well,
who
that
do we
was,
talk to?
no, I mean, the sewer ring, the betterment there are a lot of
But the guys last week's.
Ken and Cathcart.
Yeah, you're saying that we should work, they're redoing the whole sewer plant for the town, right? That's the way
It's a
we can
long-term
work that.
plan. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but as I said, to John's point, yeah, does the town want to pay for
Right,
that,
but if we ask.
does the town want to force, create a bylaw for tighter septic tanks than Title V?
I mean, like, this thing that down at Cape Cod, they're giving people like $12,000 to swap out their septics.
Mm.
Just, so they're staying with septics, but they're incentivizing
gonna
to
be
improve
better.
them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's another alternative.
Mhm.
But on the surveys, though, so would you do that as a separate survey, or would you do that as part of the town survey?
Well, when does the town survey go out? I'm relatively new to Concord. When does, what time of year?
yeah, my recollection is it's later in the summer, but I don't know what's planned for this year.
So
Okay.
Donna McIntosh would be the person, right?
She would be able to give you better information on that. The other thought I had listening to you is that I know the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail access is a big issue in terms of, so I don't know if you've already spoken to someone on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail to either come speak with you about this, or you reach out to them.
I spoke to the people from the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail who said they have a trail and there are no more that's at the extent of their interest. They have gone through this ad infinitum. They put a trail in, does not have fences, and that's their position.
Yeah, okay. And I do, yeah, I do remember there a while back, as you'll remember, there was ample discussion about some kind of fences or, other barriers going up. And there were issues with that, with the state and also available money to do that, so.
Yeah, and Mary said that, Concord doesn't keep people from other towns out of our conservation land. And other towns don't keep Concord residents out. I mean, it's always been open. So fencing isn't really an option.
Right, yeah. And the rail trail is the same way, linking all the towns together, yeah.
I mean, they are fencing in certain areas, as we know, where they're protecting that vernal pond, and if there's a hillside that's too steep for safety issues.
Right.
So they will do
Yeah,
that.
private property too, I think they could. But not the conservation lands.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, so,
You also probably know from other townwide discussions right now, there are huge barriers to expanding our sewage capacity in terms of the EPA and at the state level, in terms of caps that they've put on the town. And we've been working for some time to see if we can work that out. But that doesn't stop you from making recommendations in that,
right,
on that subject matter.
yeah,
Yeah, we talked to Alan Cathcart in our last meeting, and he was sort of reviewing, how the spring had gone and the proposals in the past. And, back about 20 years ago, I think they did the last sewering in Concord. And at that time, I think the attitude was the more units we get on sewer, the better. And eventually, if we had the whole town on sewer and all our septic systems, that would be good. Then came rules from Mass DEP and so forth that we have a limit. We can't discharge into the Concord River more than a certain amount. And then, everything changed around. So now it looks like we're looking for what small things could we do that are just taking care of the few septic systems that are the problem for the pond. And that possibly could be handled just by a gigantic Title V septic system, as long as it's outside the contributing area to the pond. And Ellen, I think that my sense was that he was like, this might be a possibility. So a much smaller thing targeted for a specific thing to keep septic out of the pond, rather than let's keep septic out of all the aquifer all over Concord. I mean, it's kind of a different place we're at now.
Right. Well, thank you for that.
Somebody last week's, oh, sorry, Linda, go ahead.
I just said, thank you for that update. Thank you. Yeah.
So I think two of you were at the meeting live with Alan, and some of the sound was kind of, bouncy from the Zoom. I thought I heard him say that the last survey was done, obviously things have changed considerably now that the town owns the, has the beach, et cetera. And I thought he was saying it's maybe a time to revisit a lot of things, and that might be an opportunity. Is that what he was saying?
I think he was saying in general, that's one thing that's changed. I think in general, he is looking to do a comprehensive wastewater management
Right.
plan update for the entire town. And one of the driving forces among numerous
Right.
is the town beach.
So did he have any suggestions? Because I heard him talking, like not speculating, but saying a lot of, ideas. Could we do this? Could we do that? Did he have anything that we could put on paper about some of these ideas Alan had that we could work in tandem?
Well, you could look
Or
at the old
recommend.
plan and see what the things are in there. I mean, I think what I heard him, he and Delia say is, we are town staff. We will do what you direct us to do. And I think if we look back at the old plan, maybe we could see some of the alternatives and do those resources, but they will do what what the town as a whole asked them to do. And that's one of our responsibilities, is once we have know what the town wants, then we can identify who would do it
I
and
mean,
who would pay for
yeah,
it.
I thought about this a little bit. We're not going to ask Alan to like sewer it, but rather to get a consultant to draw up a plan that would cover, X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z for the
But
pond.
he was talking to a specific plan, because I guess there was a time, like a 20-year life or whatever on this. And so there's a bunch of activities that had to be done to this executive summary of the wastewater plan. He was saying they're going to be reviewing, and I thought he was suggesting to us to kind of join him with that.
This
That would be a
was-
good opportunity to join,
I think he was looking for a recommendation. I think he was looking for
Right.
support, recommending.
but it was a good time, because it is like the life of the sewer,
Yeah.
there's something, a bunch of things coming up over the next couple of years that are going to be.
But that's a
Yeah.
multi-year, that's a multi-year.
It is.
I don't know if we want to get into,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
No,
whole
but
town.
that's one of the things, like when I was saying, and I know you don't like it, Alyssa, but I haven't heard you guys, but that's one of the recommendations we could put to the
Right.
select board. And that serves both, a department, his department, the town's department wishes, what we might wish. So that's what I meant. What are those recommendations? Should we take them seriously, and can we work together? I mean, I think getting a consultant in to, and put the sewer thing to rest is a really good idea.
I think it
Also-
probably is too, but as I said, that's the five of us sitting here.
No, but that's a potential, a recommendation, right? One of them.
Well, I mean, before you write that one.
No, I'm
down.
not. We're talking right now.
I mean,
I'm just
there's also the
discussing.
whole question of like, how do you address the people that live around the pond for anything? Because, I mean, that's what, I think the town engineer was saying, that he gets, requests from people that live in the area around White Pond. And he's not sure, with what authority they speak, or when he talks back to them, where that information goes. So
Yeah.
I think the same, certainly that would enter into the situation with trying to, you could design all the systems you want, and they had one design, you know, in the past, and it was rejected. So how does it, how do you create it, a recommendation that would have any more life than the last recommendation, just where they're.
Yeah, that one, and they did, there's a little bit more, I don't know if you had heard this, that it was approved, there was money set aside for that sewering. And people along the pond, a lot of people live there, you know, just decided it wasn't worth it. And plus they needed a lot of land to place, you know, that takes a lot of land.
Right, so they wanted a package plant, and it was gonna be
Yeah.
over in the field that Vero plows and stuff now. And you know, it could all be changed around, but still the question would remain, I guess, you know, I don't know how to talk to people that live in the neighborhood. I mean, how does the town approach them? It's all private, you know, the roads, I still don't understand what the deal is with.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. You know, the White Pond Advisory Committee had done focus groups, like meet and greets, like we're talking about, like we could do at Egg Day, which I think is a really good idea. And they had them in the neighborhoods, like one over by Dover Street and one over by the Stone Route, you know, in there. And again, it's people that, it's just like us as volunteers, and people, if they're interested, are gonna come and talk, and if they're not, right? So,
There's lots of people who got that postcard who probably just
yeah,
threw it away.
you know, that was what I was gonna mention too, Linda, because I do a lot of work. I'm on a couple boards, and we look at the statistics, you know, who clicks through if you do it online, who doesn't even open it, who puts it right in the recycling can. So I would be interested to see how many were sent out and how many responses they got, because surveys may or may not be useful in our case.
I think they got 300 responses for this one.
In our town, it was sent to,
For
Everybody,
Warner.
everybody
Warner
except you.
Pond thing?
Yeah.
and Carl. Both of us.
Oh. Well, Carl admitted that,
Girls not good at that stuff.
Okay,
Anyway.
John could have recycled our Warner's Pond, I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't really see it.
surveys, you know, are only as good as the survey is written, number one. And, you know, people are interested. I mean, getting interest is really the important part. I think we should really, I
So-
really like the idea of going, at least having a booth and trying to get some interest.
so Ag Day is September 9th.
But we need to actually, even if we want people to come to a booth, we have to formulate some questions anyway, right? To talk to people with.
Right, I mean, you could have the survey, and instead of giving the survey through the mail, you could use it as, you know, like
September maybe?
give me
September
a
9th.
sheet, like, what do you think about it?
Yeah. Say White Pond.
And so if we do it tonight, we could come up with a list of questions to ask and have us sit at a table at July 20th with the Recreation Department and have the West Concord.
So what is an egg day like? I mean, what are the,
Well, they set up tables and all the different farms sell their produce there as opposed
So
to.
Main Street, they block off a block of Main Street on the Mill Dam.
oh, yeah, okay. No, I remember
The
that.
scouts are there, like
Yeah,
Library has
yeah,
a booth.
I remember.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
I love it. It
No,
was-
I-
And I'm.
yeah,
new
I
to
remember.
town.
yeah,
It's
okay.
a vegetable
But I
racetrack.
mean, we're good, so everybody's gonna
It's
be
in-
playing. you
Somebody
know,
might, one of the town departments might be helpful to give you some kind of area map or something that you could put up on a poster that will draw people in.
Can you clarify a little, you mean an area map of the pond?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, something like that.
Banner to stick on a table or something, it would be nice. you know.
yeah,
I have a table and a canopy at the moment.
the canopy would be.
I have a
important.
table and a canopy.
Well, what, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a sales guy, but what are we marketing here? So it's a booth. Like the, you know, Barrel Farm, I get, they're selling beets and stuff, right? So, but what are we're gonna
White Pond, what do you want?
so
what's-
we're asking them questions.
Yeah. Hey, we're supposed to be getting input.
White Pond Task Force.
So
We have a
the
picture
people,
of
want
the,
you.
we want you to
in the beach.
tell us, do you like White Pond? So you're gonna give them surveys to fill out?
We want to gauge the priority of town
That's what I'm saying.
residents regarding
You're
the
competing
protection
with-
of White Pond.
You're competing with vegetables now.
No, that's what it says.
Oh,
We want to solicit input to gauge the priorities of town residents regarding the protection of White Pond.
so how do we do that in that environment?
Well, we got to come up with some questions like, you know, if the septic, if there's a problem with septic systems, then sewering is a possibility of some sort. Do you think the town
But you're,
The
in a-
people should
you're,
pay
you're
for
in
it
a booth
themselves
now.
or
People are gonna answer those, stop and answer those questions, or are you gonna give them a written
Well,
survey?
Well, this, we were talking about Ag Day, so I think. we
Right,
just
we're talking about
about-
Ag Day,
So
right.
these are questions we can chat with people about.
No, I hear your point. I understand. I mean, it's just a vehicle because there's a lot of traffic, right? That
Yeah, I
goes
mean,
through. That would just be a
what I'm
way
saying
to
is,
talk to
maybe there's a message we want to get out. I don't know what that, you know,
Yeah.
White Pond is good, man. I don't know, you know, but how's that? Is that good? You like swimming there? It's good. I like swimming there.
Do you, how important is White Pond to you? Then they put in yes or no, don't care, medium, whatever.
It's gotta be simple because people, yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have no attention.
Are
span.
gonna have 30 seconds.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
They're
That-
gonna be with their
would-
kids or their
A survey's a
dog.
different environment to get those questions answered.
Maybe that's it, but
Yeah.
just, yeah, I mean.
Well,
But getting some visibility.
Mary
good.
did
White Pond,
say,
have you ever been to White Pond?
Yeah.
Why don't you, why do you go? Why don't you
Yeah.
go? I mean,
Mhm.
I think we have to,
Well, it could be,
Maybe
good.
we
It
could all
could be
work
good
on
PR. And they
social-
say, well, I don't go because, you know, the bacteria, you know, well, I haven't had any bacteria this year.
Mhm.
We've done a lot to mitigate it. Maybe we show an A pod. I don't know, maybe we don't want to do that.
No.
But I don't know, but it's kind of a cool technology, you know?
We had, I'll just segue here. None of you were there, but we had a great meeting. We had a poster board with pictures of the pod and some facts and data, and we had in the pouring rain 2 weekends ago. John Higgins came. I thought I was going to do the talk, so I was glad John came. And, 20 people came in the pouring rain to learn about the pod and ask questions, and
It might
some
be
people
interesting to
volunteering.
people.
I think,
I-
I
that
mean, I
was
think that's,
interesting to me.
I think that's one aspect
The
of it.
newspaper wanted to send somebody the new bridge, the Concord Bridge, not new, but newer.
Yeah.
And we sent the article that went up in Friends of White Pond. I think you should read it anyway, the Friends, and it's on the Facebook page, because interestingly enough, John Higgins thinks now that pollen may be one of the bigger contributing factors into
Well, we should
the
disallow it.
We
nutrients.
we should stop that.
Yeah, well, you can't, but,
Problem
but,
solved.
but,
There you go.
but just
There you go.
just think about this, if
Nope.
that's the case, we can't stop, it's climate warming, whatever's happening. But there's a study, Harvard study that shows pollen has increased 21% in the past 20 years. That's a lot.
Because of warmer weather,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and also because the fauna around our White Pond is different than maybe Walden, for example, so we may get more pollen. But one of the recommendations, just simply talking right now, could be something like, well, maybe we want the apod in the water just for keeping things level, because he's collected like 150 pounds of pollen just, in the first month. And that pollen didn't get to become a nutrient because
Yeah.
it was collected. So these are just new things we learned too.
I think it's a great opportunity to get some press out there. We show
Yeah.
White Pond, we talk about, we have a
Right.
committee. I think APOD's like an eye catcher,
Yeah, it is.
you know,
You
and,
could put a
and,
poster.
and that we haven't had any events this year. And,
So how-
and I think that's a positive
But
message, because like, we're
So
doing something
think
about
that's,
it.
I think that's great, and that's a good concrete thing. But I think
Right.
if we're going to show up at, say, the recreation department thing or the Ag Day, maybe we could all can develop a plan for us to do some work, go back, sit down, come up with questions and things we want to ask of.
So
And-
maybe we dovetail Donna's stuff and say, well, the survey's coming out, I'm making it up now, October 1st. And, put that in like, could you please look at, follow up on the survey? We'll have questions there for White Pond. I don't know.
So, Linda, did you want to add something?
Well, I don't want to get driven out the first time I join you. Messaging isn't necessarily my forte, but what I'm thinking about as I'm listening to this is, White Pond is a townwide resource. We need your input.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or-
that's what Mary Hartman was saying, that she wanted us to be getting the word out in a way about this resource, and it's no longer this private place that you can't go to or you have to sneak in. The public is allowed, and this is how you access it, and everyone in town should have access. So I like your idea, just having, White Pond is for your enjoyment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could you
exactly.
just say that again, Linda? What was your headline? I like
Yeah, I bet a lot of people don't know the rec department
White
runs that
Pond-
beach. I bet you-
Yeah.
I bet you like people-
White Pond is a townwide resource. We need your input or give us your ideas. Yeah, it's so easy for not just White Pond as an issue, but it's so easy for if it's located in Concord Center, that on that side of town. Sometimes West Concord people don't feel they have a stake in it and vice versa. And I think we're really trying to have the broader picture.
Okay, so it's 7:40, let's kind of talk about what we've said so far. There's a couple action items. You've mentioned, Alyssa, about going to this rec thing at Rideout Park. I know nothing about it.
It's a little
did we-
rush, but if we worked hard, we might be able to.
But did you say it would be good just to sit and listen? Because they're gonna have a booth, and could we have a volunteer to do it? Is it worthwhile?
Well, it would be great to be more active than just listening, because because they're keyed into a whole townwide plan. We want to say, well, here's one thing that we're in particular
Yeah,
interested in.
their big thing is Emerson Playground, right?
I don't-
Yeah, that's where the, summer camp is, that's where,
I don't know there isn't a draft of this draft plan online that I could find, so I'm not sure what's in their recreation plan, but it's a townwide recreation plan. I mean, that usually includes things like ball fields. and,
right.
I mean,
So,
but
wonder-
passive rec, but we even heard this thing about they may be thinking about kayaks down at the state ramp.
right, but
Okay.
it's not gonna be focused at all on the pond.
No,
Do they want us to, push that particular aspect of it?
No, yeah, I think we need more information, to your point, right? Because we don't know. So what do we do? Do we talk to Anna or to the commission or whatever? Do we need a volunteer to do that, to reach out?
yes,
Okay, so that's one potential action item, reach out to whoever this group is, we decide. Another action item, and then we can just divvy it up, I think, right? Another action item is we contact the director of communications about the town survey when it is planned. And if we could do a survey, how it works, so we could understand timing, money and all that.
and what kind of resources we have for publicity in terms of posters and things.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also talked about the ranger, getting some kind of feedback from the ranger.
And rec too.
Yeah, rec, that's for sure. Rec is the first one I mentioned. So,
So, yeah, and I think rather than having, as I said, having the rec department or even the citizen or the rec commission come here seems to be, well, staff, I can tell you don't like it at all. It's just another thing they have to do. And even in the commission, I think if we go out to them and really just a
Yeah.
one-on-one meeting, if nothing else, is fastest, most streamlined.
okay,
What do you, well, just a delve on the rec, so you want to know what survey questions they would ask, you want to know how things are going. What
Well,
else?
What
What
their
else?
what
Plans
their
are-
plans are for the future, yeah, how things are going right now. Other ideas that they have that they're not maybe incorporating into their plan. Other feedback that they've gotten. What do they think is a good idea about having 20 different stand-up paddle boards, which are really an excuse to go swimming in the pond. What do they think about the town-owned parcel? Delia says her position, but one of those parcels is not owned by the Conservation Commission. It's a town commission. Does the town rec department think it'd be a good idea to have swimming from that parcel?
My impression was no, because there's no facilities, no
Yeah.
lifeguard.
Yeah.
Would the rec commission like it if there were funds available to put something like that in? Would people be interested?
well, we can't even hire more than one ranger right now, so I think our budget, and I don't know, I mean.
I was just throwing
and
out ideas.
Why would you even need people to be in the cove at all when we have the resource now at the town beach, which is very accessible now for handicapped and for anybody. It allows out of towners to go,
It's affordable.
and
Well-
it is very affordable.
Right. I mean, that's the concept and that's the idea that they hope would work. Is it working?
I would say so, except for people like my kids when we lived in Sudbury, who could sneak in because they didn't have
And
memberships.
there's 270 units that are less than a
400.
quarter of a mile.
Colbert Cross,
away
but that's a
now.
big thing, Colbert Crossing or whatever it's called now. I mean, the access and once the trail is finished, which we walk on all the time. I mean, that's always a concern. But opening it
So
up to
would-
people, is that what we want to do?
It's gonna
We
be
don't-
opened up, and I think, you may not realize it yet. but,
More people are gonna see it and be able to walk down and,
But doesn't mean it's gonna, they can use it.
Well, that's what we want to find out.
Well, I think they're gonna use it, and then, we can wait till it happens.
No, I think we're gonna make our recommendations to the town, but maybe one of our recommendations, I'm just talking out loud, this is just me talking out loud. Maybe one of our recommendations is that we have permanent rangers there so it can't happen and they're redirected to.
Or maybe one of our recommendations is that we open it up as a second town beach. and
Yeah.
staff it. So we don't
Used to
know
be
what,
a town beach. Right, yeah, it's one beach. Actually, I've read that,
Yeah, I know.
that the state was trying to buy that land to put in a beach. And that's when the town stepped in and bought it from the company that owned the land previously. So,
Used to be a ton of people there, but used to be a ton of people who used to go there, but
Well,
yeah.
it's interesting because I think
10,
I'm hearing you
20
two
years
maybe advocating that be opened up, but
Oh.
that could be a survey question.
yeah,
Do you think that Station Cove should be open? Personally, I personally say no, like NO, no, but maybe that's something you ask people, because I think we have another resource that's.
yeah, I
the
wasn't
town spent
advocating. I
Millions
was
of
just
dollars on,
questioning.
but we could ask.
yeah, always the complaint is, like the trash that's left around,
Oh, God,
the
yeah,
noise and
so
so
bad.
forth.
Dogs and stuff.
And,
and there's obviously no bathroom, so.
right,
That's a big,
right. So,
And
if you allowed it to happen, then you would have to provide all those things. You'd have to provide trash collection, you have to provide bathrooms and so forth.
yeah.
right, and emergency vehicles should.
There's no parking. I mean,
Exactly.
there's a lot of reasons why it
Right,
can't,
and
shouldn't
my
happen.
opinion is that, if there were some good signage there that said, this part of the reservation is not for swimming, please join us at the town
Right.
beach.
And it was $5. You could
So-
go for $5.
Yeah, you
just
don't
for
have to
one
be a
day.
resident,
Yeah.
and so it's saying, yes, you can swim, just not here, as opposed to
Right.
get lost, this is private, and go over to Walden or something. So I think educating people that there is a town beach, you don't have to be a resident, would be helpful, and also to say that this area, another reason we don't use it for swimming is it's more for habitat. It's habitat, animal and plant habitat.
Ecologically sensitive.
Yes. And I think not everybody, some people, no matter what you do with some people, they're gonna do what they want to do. But other people, given the information that we're protecting this for wildlife, will listen.
No,
So we
okay.
could have a subcommittee work on questions of how to, I don't know,
What are you doing for the survey, you mean?
well, a survey or for Ag Day, or said a rec department thing is pretty tight, so I don't really see how it could be done, although it's,
That's the Red House Park thing, is the. rec
yeah, it's
park?
on the July 20th, so it's.
But it's a
Yeah.
Thursday night?
I think we need somebody to volunteer to just reach out to the recreation board or.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, since you already volunteered me. I don't,
I'll
Laura,
blame Evan, he's not here.
no, it's cool. Laura Lunick used to be, who's Laura Lunick's job now?
Ann McCall.
It's
Oh.
Anna,
It's probably on the
She's the
website, right?
staff person,
Anna
so
is
what
the
we're really
manager.
looking for is the chair, I'm sure it's right here.
Yeah, I'll put it on the website.
Anna, oh my God, Linda,
McCown-
do you know
McCowan?
Anna's last name? It's escaping me.
Yeah, I'm blocking on it right now too. I'll think of it.
I have her email, hang on, I'll look, well, I'll get her email, but
Okay,
she's
we'll
the
figure it
director of the department. But
Yeah.
Alyssa keeps saying maybe we need more than just the
It's the
director.
commission we're interested in, not the not as much the staff. So Phil Griffin, whoever he is,
So he's like the big guy.
he's
And
the
why do you
chair.
think it's the commission?
Because they're the public. The staff does what the staff serves the town. And it's true, they're the most knowledgeable and they have a lot of opinions and probably know best, but their job is to serve the town. So the idea of this committee was to find out what the town wants.
Right.
the-
I mean, they
White
serve
line.
at sort of, you know, the direction of the boards of the town.
And you know, maybe if you could sit down with Anne and the chair, you know, maybe that would be more effective.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Carl. I see you're volunteering, not being voluntold.
No, that's good, but it's a little
So-
confusing. I mean, there's a commission, what does a commission do? Like,
Commission directs town staff how they want the recreation facilities in this town to be done.
we want that, or we want to know what's actually going on from
You
just running it,
Maybe you could set up a meeting with Phil Griffin and Anna McCowan.
director of recreation. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm a salesperson, so it's all good.
Always be closing.
Always be close, yes. Glenn Ross. You see that movie?
But I
Right.
mean, I think some of the questions, I guess, would be what we talked about, what we don't know. Are they
Right.
doing a survey at all? Have they gotten
Well,
feedback?
do you want me to ask for them to attend like half an hour with us?
I think you
I
could
thi- I
ask
think-
that, or you could just get the information
Yeah, okay,
and then report back to us.
Okay.
I
I
think
think if
either
we make
way,
it easier for them, I think that's one of our problems why we haven't gotten very far is because
give them the
no one's
option,
looking for
Okay.
more.
give them the option. But
Okay.
even just asking a bunch of these questions would be good to know, right?
yep,
Um,
I think, you know, when we had Alan here, we had questions that he could think of beforehand and get responses to. That was I think he found that easier.
okay. But what was this? You can't send an email to everybody? What was this?
if
Yeah.
you send it to us, what you found out,
Yeah.
we can't all respond to you. You got a blank
Oh,
copy.
so you just ignore me, so send it to the black hole.
Or just verbally come when we come back,
Okay.
or we
Well,
could
we
have a
want to get
special,
going, I think,
yeah, we could have a special meeting, but it seems like it's really tough to meet every 2 weeks, so.
yeah, okay, all right. I'll do that.
On the topic of other committees, I did attend the climate change committee and let them know of our work. Because the idea wasn't to tell them everything we're doing, but to say we exist, and if your committee has recommendations, you know, attend a meeting, get in touch. Because we are soliciting feedback, not just from the 5 of us, but from people looking at it from different points of view.
So you went to the meeting,
Yes.
and did they have any feedback for us?
No.
No. Do they talk about, for climate change, the impact of fertilizers? Do you know?
Well, I only went to that one meeting. I attended it on Zoom, and I don't recall that fertilizer came up.
I was just curious.
It's really not climate change.
Oh,
I mean, it's not.
well, yeah. Totally, isn't it? Ozone, air? I just wondered if they did. Okay, so you went to the last meeting, I'm just kind of, because I'm gonna take some minutes myself. You just reiterated that we're here, and if there's anything going on.
Yeah, you know, I explained our charge and invited their input. They're a brand new committee.
Okay.
So they're just getting going.
Okay. Thank you. And then I got Carl is gonna talk to, are you gonna talk to,
I'm gonna talk to one or both of them,
so how do I phrase it? You're gonna talk to
and then Phil apparently.
and Phil is what is he, the chair of
The commission.
he's the chair, okay. Carl will speak. What's Phil's last name?
Griffith.
Griffith.
I,
But he's
I
not,
don't-
so he's not a town employee then? He's
right, he's a citizen,
Okay,
So that's the rec commission.
yes.
Thanks. Okay, so, and you'll speak to both him and Anna. Okay,
And
thank you.
Well, so what do you think? I mean, I think what we found is if you just say, what do you think? We don't get much of a response. So what we have to do is come up with more pointed, more directed questions. And maybe if that's something, if you wanted to put together, you could send that out to the commission, and before you meet with him, we could go over them at our next meeting. I'm just trying to avoid.
We asked a lot right
Yeah.
here already.
We can iterate this if it's just me, you know, it's easy. I can talk to him again, you know,
Mhm.
so
And then
we'll
report back.
just dive in,
Yeah.
always be closing.
Okay.
No, we'll figure it out. You know, so probably, like you said, it'd probably be iterations. Get some questions from today and then we'll get more.
Okay, are there any other,
One of the director of communications. Well, you're saying other people to meet with,
yeah,
yeah.
so what you mentioned, Alyssa, the recreation.
So
Or sorry, the Natural Resource Commission.
Natural Resources Commission. But, you know, I think we've already made an inroad there with Delia, we haven't gotten the input from the people, residents of the pond. I think, Evan, because he's not here, we can blame him, was gonna reach out to the Dover. You know, if we can get people to reach out to these other bodies and then report back, so it doesn't have to be the whole commission meeting. And once again, you know, put on, you know, specific questions about the Dover Street Association. Is there a other
there's-
pond associate? Yeah.
Well, there's Stonewood has a trust. It's not an association. White Ave and Tracy do not have any association, but we talk. And DPOA has an association.
So maybe,
What are all these entities anyway?
DPOA
They're
Dover,
different neighborhoods?
yeah, so
Different-
the whole,
Different
the whole-
legal entities too? Or-
yes, two are an association, if you consider it a trust is. So the Stone Root people have on their deeds that they have access to the pond. Dover Street has an association and they actually have a beach. And the town does the E. coli testing for that beach. And they, you know, they're paid members for an association. It's, you know, not every 100%, but there's a group of people there and they're not all abutters. You know, there's probably, I don't know, 12 homes abutting on that side. So that's Dover Street. And then White Ave is the street I live on. It's not an association, but Stoneward has a trust.
so I think what we need to do is
are the
develop
neighbors.
what somebody needs to do, and then have it sort of vetted by at least one or two other people, but not a majority of this committee. Get a list of questions to solicit their responses. Do you want everybody in the state of Massachusetts to be able to swim in the pool? Would you be okay with, Concord, whatever? Expanding the town beach to that other parcel, I don't know, some other thoughts.
So you're saying beside, not the survey to the town, but just specifically to those
To the
associations,
residents.
those local,
Right.
that local crowd.
I think Evan had said that he would.
Yeah, he hasn't done it yet because I'm on that email list.
Okay.
I'll send him a reminder.
Because he has the contacts, whereas I don't know anyone over there.
I'll take an action item myself. I'll contact Donna McIntosh because just about the surveys, what they do, how, what the feedback is, what percentage, because we can't put all our eggs in a survey because statistically, we just don't want to take the voice of a few, but we want to
Right.
get the voice of some. And so that's a good town way. And I like Linda's idea too about if that survey is coming out soon, not at December for the townwide, and we could get a couple of questions in.
Yeah.
That
Right.
would be at least reaching all the town, right? As opposed to just people in the neighborhoods.
I think that's a
So how do we do that?
very good idea.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm taking action item to reach out to Donna McIntosh, the Director of Communications, to ask when that survey is planned.
How many
I
questions
would
are you
love to
gonna
get people's perception of White Pond, where I'm going with this, like on the Warner Pond call, this woman was on there, and she said, well, nobody wants to go to White Pond because it's polluted.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa,
Yeah, who said that?
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I don't know, it was a resident, right, was either on or very close to Warner Pond. I'm
They,
thinking,
they
like,
said they didn't want to go to White Pond?
because it was so polluted.
Yeah,
And I'm
well,
like,
yeah,
I mean, have you been to Warner Pond? It's like,
Warner
well,
Pond was-
I know.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
That was at the Warner Pond meeting, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
That was the Warner
Yeah,
Pond. Yeah,
yeah.
this is the first one, or not, I don't
Second
know.
one.
Wasn't there a lot of rebuttals on that comment?
No. So I'm thinking like, does everybody think White Pond's all polluted? Like,
Well, it is in the sense that, you know,
Sand.
it was,
but maybe
Closed down for a
people
long
that
time.
aren't swimming there think it's like,
Still polluted, like it's gone
And
for
it's
good.
polluted,
Right.
it's cyanotoxin.
curious if that,
yeah.
right? It's like,
Our
Sounds like
water, our
it.
water is clearer than Walden right now.
there, yeah.
it has been, and yet the cyanobacteria comes in. It's very weird.
Mhm.
Well, you know,
Well, there's all,
We've been
we've
lucky
talked
these
about
past
all
few
the other
years.
factors like
yeah.
acid rain and all this, like it told you, the pond down the Cape, but there's no houses around a great pond and well fleet and it gets cyanobacteria mixing. Anyway, whatever.
Oh, no, it's a problem in the state. Yeah, it's a problem across the United States.
Yeah,
So with these associations, the handful of associations, maybe if we could ask Evan to come up with a list of questions that, as I said, this, a subcommittee of this could sort of vet, and
yeah,
then
he said
have him
the
go
inside,
out,
he was a
to
lifeguard,
go
he was
out,
living there his whole life.
have
so-
have him go out to meet with them. And then bring the information back to this committee.
I think we can and he should. I also think, though, that one of the select board meetings I attended, that was one of the issues and part of the charge, I think, that the task force was created was because there was a feeling that it's those residents, not in my backyard kind of attitude.
Right,
And so that's why we want to reach out to the bigger population.
Oh, yeah. This is a both. And,
Yeah.
we had a whole list of, at one of our earlier meetings, we tossed out a lot of towns, boards, committees,
Evan
other
could-
things.
Yeah.
with me.
Jim Ricker, Evan's dad, actually was on the task force and he probably has some of the information from those actual meet and greets, what people wanted. It was these same kind of questions we're asking.
But I think we want to do it as this different
Yeah.
kind of organization.
Yeah. So I will send an email to Evan. Wait, I'm volunteering for way too much. I'm doing minutes, I'm doing the whatever. I'll send an email to Evan and ask him if he has or plans to reach out to DPOA and Stump Root, just to see if he can get any feedback. And I'm gonna reach out to Donna. I'm not creating a survey by any means. I'm just
yeah,
understanding
just the
how
process
it
or whatever,
works.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Should we also have a kind of an action item to put down some questions that would be on a questionnaire, if we can get space in the questionnaire for next time?
Are you saying, that's what I'm gonna ask Donna.
Yes, Don, if we can get on the questionnaire, but then what would we put on?
Oh, I
'Cause we
think,
need to write out stuff.
yes, absolutely. I
And
agree.
then have it at our next meeting to
Yeah.
approve or something.
So I think that's all of our homework, right?
Mhm.
That we
Yeah, yeah.
all
Do we
should
want to do
put,
that? Do we want to do that for our next meeting?
yeah. I think we all come up with some questions we
Survey
think are
questions.
important and then we can stack rank them or something, we'll have
Yeah.
some competitive.
Duplicates. Yeah.
And we know in a survey, you know yourself, and if you've read all these survey, we gotta condense the list. So we take all our ideas and then we figure out the most important that we feel are the most important,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so for our next meeting, 1 month from now, all of us have an action item to start creating what we think are important survey questions.
Okay, it would be helpful to know the format of the survey. Is it yes, no, I don't know? Is it
Right,
rate, 1 to 10?
may get very little opportunity,
Like how?
Donna might say you've got 2 questions, that's all you get, or something.
Right, we could appeal to her that, look at this townwide thing comes out every year, it's really boring. Because we ask the same questions, the same committee. Could we have a special focus on this particular one because we have a need,
Yeah.
something like that?
I think
And
we,
have maybe,
yeah,
a third of the,
I'll ask the questions, or we ask if we just do our own, just
Yeah.
like Warner Pond did.
sure, sure.
I'm gonna ask both those then,
Okay,
right? And I think to your point about how you ask the questions that's our decision, right? You can make it yes, no, you can make it 0 to 10. I mean, we decide, she may have, if she's very good at this stuff, I can ask her if they found one more effective than the other.
okay, so just because other committees are asking yes or no questions or highly satisfied, highly dissatisfied, we can do it our own way within the survey. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be.
Yeah,
Uniform.
survey creation.
Okay.
And this Wonder Pond thing, there was information too associated with it, right?
Yeah, it was very informative because
So we
then
were
it helped
allowed
you
to do
make,
that and
it
so,
helped
you know,
make it,
say like,
helped
hey, we're
me
a
make
task force, we,
a decision.
confuse.
Mhm. Okay. Do you have an extra copy of that Warner Pond one?
I don't, but you can have my copy.
Thanks.
This thing, you can't vote anymore because it's passed, but I think if you go to that,
Yeah,
you could still get.
Actually, I'll just QR code it
So
now.
the
and then I'll
vote was
see.
on what you want to do with Warner Pond, that dredging or the partial
Yeah,
dredging or
it
the.
gave quite a bit of
the-
information on the options and the pros and cons, and then, are you, given this, are you in favor of removing the dam? Yes, no, or it might have been strongly in favor, strongly against.
Okay,
But without the information that they provided, I wouldn't have known is, should
right,
we remove the dam or not? And
It's gone.
right.
I don't know, I mean, in general, they say it's a good idea to remove dams because they keep fish
Yeah,
from.
so it might be a good idea for us to start with a paragraph blurb on the task force and why we're here.
Yeah.
something like that.
Mhm.
It's deactivated, so thank you.
So it's not helpful.
No, but thank you.
Yeah.
As you put your questions together, once you find out the process, but I like the idea about drafting at least questions or content areas that you want to cover in your questions for the next meeting. But as you do that, one of the things I was thinking about was just asking the question, are you aware that that all town residents can buy a day pass to go to White Pond? And the reason I'm pointing that question, I know it's a rec question, but the reason I'm pointing that out as an example, and you could improve upon it greatly, I'm sure, is that even in your questions, you can get people to expand their thinking about this as a town-wide resource.
Right.
I'm going back to that concept. And then the other
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that if you're going to formally appoint a subcommittee, you're going to have to post those meetings. So
Yeah,
Well, don't you, isn't a working group that of less than the majority, not subject to
Yeah.
open meeting law?
if
So if we're
John-
less than,
John decides he wants to work with Beth or someone else, you've just decided to work and help
Yes.
each.
yeah, working group doesn't need to do minutes in open meeting law.
I know it's just an open meeting law technicality, yeah, but we
You're
have.
saying we do or we
Well,
don't?
we have been called on it, so we can't ignore it.
yeah, I think,
So
who was
two
it
people,
before
so
Mary?
two
I
people,
thought two
two
of us
people.
can't even do it, right?
If it's appointed, if they're technically appointed by your committee, that
But
we're gonna.
if a couple of people decide to work together, then it's not an appointed
Yeah, someone-
subcommittee.
yeah, right.
Got it.
I know it's drawing straws, but
I was told, like, if I wanted to work with you on the side and called you, I was told you couldn't even do that.
I don't think that's right.
Okay. All right,
Kari Tari in the town clerk's office
Yeah.
will be the
She's
final
the
word.
one.
on- Yeah,
all right, yeah. Okay, all right, so I've got our action items. What else? do
Well,
we?
if the ZAG committee thing's coming up, September 9th, that's, 6 weeks away, we're gonna have a booth and,
Can
some
we
kind of-
have a volunteer here to reach out to somebody on the egg committee to see?
I'll do that.
Okay,
Yeah, it does look like Liza Bemis is the chair.
and if we decide we wanna do that, we gotta, we gotta get 6 weeks to put a booth together,
then we'll reach out
messaging or.
to see if we can have a
Yeah.
booth, right?
Yeah.
I think we had some good ideas on what we put on that booth, but we gotta get moving on that, we want signage or, we want,
Yeah,
flyers, whatever.
Ag, I wonder.
Ag, what's that?
I wonder what sense is it ag?
No, I think that day, I mean, people sell soaps and things. I mean, it's.
That's fine.
I think
That's sort of like a farmer's stand, but I'll see.
Yeah,
I've
Yeah,
got some
actually,
posters from
maybe
White
they have
Pond,
rules about whether it
so-
would be allowed or not. Maybe the ag committee
Yeah,
has to
maybe.
decide whether it
Sure,
would be
well,
okay. for
That
us or not.
farmer's field goes into White Pond, so.
yeah, your fertilizer's coming our way, so
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
appreciate, yeah, no, that'd be a little. Never mind, forget that last one.
Well, we could have I know that Delia had printed a bunch of the use of, just not to use fertilizer because of the impact. We could have those flyers, the trifold flyers and some stuff like that. That puts us in ag
The
world.
only time Mary gets stern with me is I brought up Vero Farm. Because my best man's a farmer and his brother used to be his inseminator for his cows. Not to get too personal, but anyway, but she said, you don't want to mess with that guy because he's like got incredible power in the town. Like, okay. I don't know what, I don't know. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I guess. I don't know. But what if we think fertilizer is contributing to it, why?
I don't know that the fertile,
We don't know.
I know we've had this discussion, but I'm pretty sure I heard that they did not use fertilizer on that field up there. I know you said they use
I'd be
IPM, integrated
shocked
pest
about
management,
that.
but that doesn't involve fertilizer. That's pesticides and herbicides.
Right.
Steve Merrill came to our meeting.
It said there were
You could
fertilizers.
probably look it up. Adelia was there. And the question was asked. Somebody said, you're all, organic. And he said, no, we use IPM integrated, management, and it includes fertilizer. And he
Yeah.
rotates them just like many farmers
Right.
do. Like I was just at what's the one on Barrett's Mill, the little farm organic. And I said, oh, you have some asparagus. And I said, she said, yeah, this is the last I heard. All other farm stands are out of it. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, no, but I think I saw some at Vero. And she said, they use fertilizer. We're the only organic, so.
Well, they might use manure. He does, I've seen him drive his manure truck around.
Maybe you should reach out and ask if he uses fertilizer, because that's what he told us. It's right from the horse's mouth.
I'd be shocked if it's not. I mean, the
Yeah,
yield,
totally.
I mean, but, well.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But is that,
Manure's not good for White Pond either, so maybe it makes you feel better about it. I mean,
Composted.
yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
Okay, do we have any, before I'm gonna one more time read the action items, but do we have any other business we want to discuss before?
Yeah, I have one thing. So we talked about like how we're gonna make the recommendations, and well, it's too early to do that. But I've been curious the whole time, like how, when we have recommendations to make, how will we decide what to make?
Yes.
What's the process? Do we like
Well, that's what I
make a
said.
motion or something, or what?
Well, Beth, you were talking about earlier, we could start a format. I'm not even talking about like nailing it 100%, but then this is empty. We got to work on that. This one's. But here's a format of a template is a better way to put it. Yeah.
But do we all have to agree, is it unanimous on them? Which recommendations we make, or
This is a democracy. I don't think
Yeah,
anything's unanimous.
I think I mentioned that at the very first thing, when
I just don't. know how to
Evan
do
said,
it.
we're gonna get collected information, we're gonna make your recommendations, and we're gonna write a report. And I said, how are you gonna make recommendations? How do you have, what kind of metrics do you use? How do you decide what a recommendation is? Yeah,
What's the answer?
I think,
But if
I-
you get a template,
I think it's a-
then you can see, I don't have X, Y, and Z, then we can
mean-
say, well, we got to get that.
I guess we could say, maybe there won't be any differences among us, and so if that's the case, then don't
Well, I
worry.
don't think that's realistic. I mean, come on, we are human, but yeah, but at least get it on paper and we may agree to disagree, but at least we decide as a group we're gonna do X. I would
Well-
start a template. I mean, why, because you're looking at December.
go for it.
Again, well, yeah, I know, I'm familiar with that management technique. Yeah, well, yeah, like, so, well, it's due in December, right? So it's like, it's gonna be here pretty soon, man.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to start at least
Yeah.
putting something on paper.
Well,
Um,
I know you said you wanted to wrap up soon, but I think there are things that we can probably all agree on. I could be wrong, but we need, one of the recommendations I think would be, we need to get to the bottom of the cyanobacteria problem. And that may mean, therefore, we need more studies. We need.
I don't
more
think we can all agree on
ACOGs.
that. I think, I'm not of the opinion that we need more studies necessarily.
I would agree, I would agree that my impression is we don't know and we'll never know.
We got a
Because it
system
could be
that, we got
pollen,
a
it
system
could
that's
be
work.
fertilizer, it
We
could
got
be
the APOD.
septic, it could be the runoff.
I think I think I definitely would say, let's keep that APOD,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Department
that
of Health
thing
doing their
looks
thing. I mean,
I
I
think
recommend-
we would all agree on that.
Yeah.
No, I
and
would,
that-
we'd not all agree on that.
I don't know.
On the APOD?
Why not?
And the Department of Health program for like enumerating all the
Right.
algae It's like, I looked at the spreadsheet, like, this thing is a mess. You know, and is anyone looking at this data? And why, you know, what?
No, well, if you look on the department, if you look on the Board of Health website, they're doing the weekly monitoring and.
We had Board of Health in there and she said, I'm getting all this data. I have no idea what to do with it. That's
Yeah.
what she said. It's like, why are we doing this? If,
Yeah,
you know, I can't see it. The Board of Health doesn't, you know what to do with it. Where's
I
this
think they've
going?
gotten a
Plus,
little bit
didn't,
better.
Leland say that, said her name?
Yeah, she wasn't recommending that
Wasn't she saying that she
speciation.
was gonna quit?
She did quit.
So what's going on?
So,
No,
so
wait a
the
minute,
Board of,
wait
the
a
Board
minute,
of,
guys. Wait a minute. Are you talking about Nancy Leland, the limnologist?
I am.
yes,
She has left.
yes.
She left. The Board of Health is now doing those tests. They all,
are?
yes,
They're doing it,
They're
they're
doing-
getting the,
they're doing the
Yes.
tests
Looking for
that
the best
Nancy
in-
did. What they're not doing is SECI testing, for instance. John does that periodically.
What kind of testing?
SECI does, that's
Sucking
for
testing?
water.
Secchi.
SECC.
Okay, very good.
But she is doing that. She's sending out to the lab for the speciation.
They're doing
the
the
center to the
testing.
lab.
Yeah,
I did ask.
So I haven't seen
Melanie
anything
about that.
since, June 13th was the
Right.
last one.
yeah.
So
But
is
she
that
said-
when Leland quit or?
No, no,
No,
no.
no,
She's
Nancy-
way in the beginning of the
Nancy
season.
didn't start summer at all. So.
So we're a
she had
month behind.
No, I don't think we're behind, John.
She's doing it.
They're doing
I don't
it.
think the results
It's just
necessarily.
maybe not reported. I get a report every
I thought that
week.
these things were supposed to, help.
Be in
Get
early
the-
mornings.
Yeah.
That's by the-
For a
that's
month
the idea.
behind, how's that work?
Actually, I talked to Melanie and yeah, she was saying that she gets results back in like 2 days, in 48 hours.
So
from
she just
this,
sent a post.
Group down in Barnstable. It's like Barnstable County Regional Lab or something.
Yeah, so they're getting the test done and John is doing reports and I think the most recent one there is from June 27th. So
June
I don't-
15th was last.
I thought I had one from the 27th, but anyway, they're doing it, just so you know. They're
We're
doing,
doing it, but I don't know if it's useful.
well,
Some of it, not everything, but some of what I think, we're not necessarily saying all of what they're doing is useful.
Yeah, that is that.
I agree, because I thought I heard Nancy Leland say, yeah, it's interesting, but not really. I think I heard her say
That's
that.
kind of, yeah. Weird. Why did she quit too, you know? It's-
With other things that or something, wasn't it? And she didn't quit, she just wasn't, she just.
You know, one thing I
decided
find
not to-
amazing is there's these spreadsheets, you can get all these spreadsheets. There's no graph whatsoever, so you can't see like, is the algae going up or down? How does it compare with last year? I don't know, we need some data interpretation. If we're gonna continue to do it.
The other thing I could say, I think we would all agree on is to support Alan and the Department of Public Works and a comprehensive wastewater management plan. And that's an easy no-brainer.
well, yeah, and that's exactly my
Right.
point. There's
That's
some recommendations that we can. at
That's
least
it,
put out there.
and I can say that, continuing the APOD are our two no-brainers. And after that,
I don't think
It all
the,
falls apart.
I don't think they,
No, yeah.
it's on the APOD yet. Kind of wonder, like, were you saying that there was a bloom somewhere already?
Yes, I did.
Where was
Did this
that?
year,
No.
was-
There
no,
was a bloom in front of where I live and I
No,
reported it
there
on the
was-
bloom.
there was not a cyanobacteria bloom, not a HAB. There was a,
Alyssa, there was a bloom this past Saturday and Sunday. Absolutely. It's been reported on the bloom report. I'm not sure where you're getting your data from.
I talked to Melanie yesterday.
Okay, did she look at the bloom reports? There's pictures that were sent in from residents along White Ave towards the Row Cove. There was a bloom.
What's the bloom report? I went to the town website, like,
You guys
before I
agree-
came over here.
No, there's a thing, a block. They have like 5 active links and one is report a bloom. So when you see a bloom as a resident, they're encouraging all residents, people in the
I
cove
didn't click on it.
to,
I
yeah,
click
click
on
on
it
it.
because it says report,
It
doesn't
is
say
to be-
reports.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
That is
It's
to
called report a
report.
bloom.
Yeah.
That's reportable, but I'm still saying what you saw was not necessarily a cyanobacteria bloom because we don't know if it's a cyanobacteria bloom. You saw a algal bloom.
There was an algal bloom
Something floating on the surface, right?
that was not pollen. I could test it. I can collect it. We've got we
But
still
the-
got a.
But
No,
so
but
what do you, but you didn't close, we didn't close the
But-
beach, but you,
But no, because they have to get, they're doing their own testing, right? And they're watching, the Board of Health is going around, they look, they do collect samples. But they want people to report a bloom so they can investigate further if necessary, right? That's all. And what I was gonna say is there's not been closures, they're just putting, I don't know, John, if you should look at website, if you press the things, they have the red, yellow and green warnings. So if the testing results show no problems, they keep it green for swimming. And if it's something,
I mean,
Yellow.
toxin.
The Board of-
Yeah, I saw that, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is how they want you to report a bloom using this.
Is this on the town
No, it was-
website?
yeah,
a
it's
different-
it's
a
it's
different
great.
website. Yeah, I remember.
Just go
it's
to
a
White
report of-
Pond, go to the Board of Health, they have a whole section. Melissa, can you turn it so they can see? There's all sorts of.
Yeah,
great-
yeah.
This is the information. They've got a little summary and they have the data. So the last data posted was 6:15. Oh, 6:25 goes the other way.
Yeah, it was 6:25 or 7, I thought.
Funny, it
Yeah,
goes
it's-
6:15,
it's-
6:08, and then 6:25, yeah.
Oh,
So I was
We're
right.
not good at math.
6:25.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. I,
Thank you.
Realize
We're
it was-
not a month
Yeah.
behind. Let's give our council.
but you're right. It's, and then I got called up and said, what does this mean? The table is,
It'd be interesting to see, like, so there's a bloom seen, how does that reflect? It's supposed to be the other way around. It's supposed to be, we see that the population is
Yeah.
increasing.
Yeah.
And predict the bloom, and instead it seems like you saw the bloom and now like, where's the data for it?
No. It's twofold. It's a multi-pronged approach. They just want to know people, residents, good
I'm just
citizens
saying, don't
report.
do it, I'm just gonna,
They're testing to do the predictive testing. And if they see counts going up, then they will go send for an actual cyanobacteria test. Because those tests are more expensive, so they won't do it unless they see the trend. So
I'm sorry, that's 5:25. The last report
So
was
far-
6:15.
so far, they haven't seen a trend that makes them worried, that's all.
It's 5:25, 6:08,
I gotta look at
6:15.
my email. Maybe she didn't do it because of the 4th of July. They were out of office, some of them. You talked to her yesterday?
That's really good.
people don't see me in the 4th of July anyway.
Only in the cove. Okay, so, okay, thank you. The other business, any other business?
Yeah, so the Aggie, well, I guess we'll wait there and that.
No, go ahead.
No, because we gotta, if we're gonna move, we gotta move on that booth.
Okay,
So as soon as we know if we have an opportunity there, we'll,
so then what we have is,
because I don't think we can wait a month for another meeting, because by then it'll be, 3 weeks before, 2 weeks before,
September 9th.
yeah. So,
So what do you want?
well, I mean, if we can get an email, I mean, John, you're gonna look into whether we can even have the Aggie.
But the ag, yeah.
Yeah, so once we get the email that we can or can't, then we got a plan. I don't know, whatever we decide we can do or based on the information we get.
So we all agree we want to do this, is that right?
It's, I mean, assuming it's a decent venue for what we want to communicate.
So John, if you get the information that we can, then I think probably we're going to have to do another meeting, even if it's a Zoom, right?
Yep,
To your point.
yeah, because you gotta, yeah, if you wait till 2 weeks before, it's probably too tight.
Linda, one question you may or may not know. I know we talked about the survey, if we do it, we might get a budget or, some money to do mailings, but is there any kind of discretionary money for like printing and poster boards and stuff like that? That we could have access to?
I would ask Donna that question as well.
Okay, all right. Because if we wanted to put like a trifle board up about the
Right.
APOD, like we did for the Friends meeting a couple weeks ago, people really looked at it. I think a visual, as you all mentioned, is
Yeah,
pretty
and
nice.
then we get, unless it's some conversation, then maybe a flyer, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And the flyer, frankly, that's like nothing. I mean, we
Yeah.
just use our printers at home or something.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so then what I have is, we're agreeing, we need to reach out to more, I don't want to say committees, I guess it is committees. And to that end, Carl is going to reach out to
the rec.
the rec.
department.
Yeah. I'm going to reach out to Donna McIntosh about a number of things about surveys. John is going to reach out to the ag people. Jennifer already reached out to the climate change group. Are we missing anybody else?
We're all gonna do survey questions.
All of us are gonna do the survey questions
I
for,
guess the only thing was the Rangers. We talked about Rangers like We want
Oh, yeah.
somebody to talk to the ranger or the ranger manager of rangers, or
No, we're
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
reach out to DPA. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if. I wonder if Delia will not like us to reach out to the regular person.
Well, who
I
does
would
the
be
ranger
glad,
work
I would be
for?
glad to talk to Delia to ask her if I can talk to the ranger and talk to the ranger.
I
Okay.
mean,
What department, was that,
Yeah,
that was town? That was town?
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
hired by
okay,
the
okay.
town. And like you said, not, maybe during her time, if you can just kind of, okay, so you're gonna reach out. To, let me see,
And regarding the question about starting a format or thinking about the format, just so you know, as placeholders for different things that you need to do. Oh my gosh, we've had one recent task force that just submitted recommendations. My gosh, sorry, I deal with so much information. You have to forgive me. I guess it
Did
was.
did you like their format? Was it a good format?
Yeah, as I recall. But they had recommendations but it's a good idea to set up the placeholder, we need an introductory paragraph.
The wheel.
This will be our section for the recommendations, da, da, da.
Yeah, good, thank you,
I'll send that to you.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's an action item for Linda.
There you go. And I assume I'm on your mailing list now. Does that
Yeah.
mean I'll also get the minutes?
Yes,
Okay, thank
but
you.
we're,
Yeah, once
if
we
we
get.
ever get 'em. the ones we have approved, that are posted on the website now. And Evan's got a handful, he's still gotta get posted, but we need the minutes from our June and May meetings still, so you won't see those.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And then, I guess what I'll do is I'll kind of write, I see you all taking notes. I'll try to write up something, send it to you all, and if you have any red lines, just send them back to me for today. Okay,
So when's the next meeting?
I think we're gonna wait for you to tell us if Egg says yes or no, because we might have to meet before August, to your point. I mean, it's a pretty aggressive timeline.
To meet before August for the September 9th Ag Day.
Yes,
Why don't we? I mean,
if
we
he
meet in
gets,
August.
if he
Well-
finds out
If we get
Or
to,
in August.
would we be able to pull what we want together for Egg Day if we don't
Yeah.
meet before the next month?
if you want poster board with that graphics on it and all that kind of stuff, I don't know, it all depends on what we're gonna do, but.
It's preferable, but I said, no,
Well, we don't necessarily have to meet
we
in
got
person.
six weeks,
Yeah,
7 weeks, so.
yeah, it's pretty fast. So we would probably have to have a Zoom meeting, right?
More efficient than I am, I don't know.
No,
Unless,
yeah,
unless
we
they
would-
say they're full.
Yeah, or you can only do X, whatever
Yeah.
that is.
So our next
Well,
meeting would be
Maybe we
normally.
just stand around, look good or something.
It's tough though, you guys, I gotta tell you, because I don't know about you. I travel and I vacation too. I travel for work. and
Right, that's what I'm
vacation.
saying. This is primo vacation time.
Yeah, it's hard. Our next meeting would be. If it was the month, it would be. August 16th. Or 9th.
That's-
It'd be August 2nd, right? No. Yeah. August 2nd is, it's every,
It's the first.
the first and the second one will be the
Yeah.
16th. Well, let's find out, maybe it's a lot simpler than, let's see what maybe they don't want a booth with graphics on, who knows?
Well, maybe they might maybe allot other space too.
Yeah.
Because they clear the town, who knows? All right, so that's the first thing. Just let us know if it's even viable, and then we can all decide if we meet in another 2 weeks on that or not. And that means September 12th. Wait, what day did you say it is?
9th.
9th. That's a Saturday. And we need some of us there, obviously. Does it start like at 9 in the morning or 10? Is it
Usually
usually?
on their website,
It's 10, I believe.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I call the meeting to an end.
Absolutely.
Meeting is over.